Greetings on behalf of the Planning Accreditation Board, or PAB. This is the fourth in a series of 5 modules designed to explain in greater detail PAB's accreditation standards to prepare you for your role as a member of a site visit team. As we go through this module, you may stop the presentation at any time and start back up again. In fact, at various points I will ask you to pause so that you can carefully read text contained in the standards. Throughout this presentation, we encourage you to write down questions that come to you. If your question is not answered or you are confused about something in this module, please contact a member of PAB's staff and we will get back to you shortly with an answer. Accreditation standards are critical factors used to assess program quality and success. Each standard is supported by multiple criteria which provide specific detail on relevant aspects of the standard itself. Assessment of compliance is done at the individual criterion level. In this module, we will examine in detail Standard Number 4, Curriculum. Please pause the presentation to read the introductory preamble to this standard. The Curriculum and Instruction Standard and its related criteria are designed to ensure the program is offering a curriculum that reflects today's planning practice and the profession's aspirations for the future. The standard also seeks to ensure the program has sufficient human and physical resources to deliver the curriculum. The curriculum includes a set of underlying principles, ideas, and tools common across the profession, electives, and may include optional specializations that allow students to obtain a depth of competency in topics of their choosing. PAB acknowledges that programs may illustrate and detail required and elective competencies in different ways, depending on the populations they serve and their own strategic orientations. PAB encourages the pursuit of excellence through innovation. Meaningful use of learning outcomes is expected in order to assess the degree to which curricular efforts, including innovative efforts, are successful in achieving objectives. The program's response to Standard 4 Curriculum is expected to connect directly to the outcomes assessment measures discussed in Standard 1. There are 5 criteria within this standard. Let's address each one in turn. For each, we will review the language of the criterion, the rationale behind it, and discuss the sorts of situations that could be considered challenges for compliance. These examples are meant to illustrate situations that might be red flags for site visitors. The examples are not intended to serve as strict definitions of lack of compliance. Required knowledge, skills, and values of the profession is the first criterion within the curriculum standard. Please pause the presentation to read this text. This criterion addresses the core elements of the planning curriculum. These elements are typically included in the program's required coursework, although other approaches are possible. While individual programs will differ in how these areas are covered, the mastery of these elements is compulsory for all students in the program. The criterion is divided into 3 areas that detail the requirements related to general planning knowledge, skills, and values. In the area of planning knowledge, the program must offer course materials that focus on the ideas and informations that are used in the planning profession. There are 6 specific elements of general planning knowledge outlined in the criterion: the purpose and meaning of planning, planning theory, planning law, planning history and human settlements, the future, and global dimensions of planning. Planning skills are the competencies related to performing specific tasks required in the planning profession. The criterion identifies 6 specific skills that must be part of the curriculum: research, communication by written, oral, and graphic means, quantitative and qualitative methods of analysis, plan creation and implementation, planning process methods, and leadership. The program shall also incorporate values and ethics that guide planning in a democratic society. These include professional ethics and responsibility, governance and participation, sustainability and environmental quality, growth and development, health and built environment, and finally, equity, diversity, and social justice. To demonstrate compliance, the program shall provide evidence related to curricular inputs, outputs, and outcomes. Input evidence centers on where each of these individual requirements appears in the curriculum with reference to specific courses or other features of the program. Central to this is the completion of the curriculum map in the self-study report. The curriculum map is a table in which courses are arrayed horizontally and the required elements of knowledge, skills, and values are arrayed vertically. A check in the box indicates that a specific curricular element is covered within a specific course. The course syllabi provided in the self-study report are also part of the input evidence. The program will provide output evidence in the form of a representative sample of student work made available for review during the site visit. The work should be chosen to show a variety of quality as well as a variety of required curricular competencies. Outcome evidence includes student achievement on the learning outcomes presented under Standard 1. In addition, the narrative in the self-study report will include for each of the required curricular elements information related to how each one appears in courses throughout the curriculum. This part of the narrative can describe topics covered, assignments, and/or examination content to demonstrate coverage of required elements. The narrative will be clear regarding which are courses required for all students as opposed to which are elective. If the curricular element is addressed in ways other than through coursework, that too should be detailed in the narrative. The site visit team and PAB will make an assessment for each individual curricular element as to whether it has been met, partially met, or unmet. The following 3 examples describe situations that could be viewed as challenges to meeting this criterion. 1. The amount of instruction on a given curricular element within a required course varies significantly depending on the instructor, as demonstrated by a review of the syllabi or by input from faculty or students. 2. It is possible for students to complete the program without having had access to a required element of the curriculum because it appears only in elective courses. 3. Students report that they do not feel they know or have mastered a required element of the curriculum. Areas of specialization and electives is the second criterion within the curriculum standard. Please pause the presentation to read this text. This criterion addresses the question of whether the program has sufficient depth in its curriculum and faculty to offer specializations and elective courses. This criterion treats specializations and electives separately. Specializations are not mandatory, but when they are offered, they must contain a sufficient number of courses so that students are able to get a depth and range of expertise. As to elective courses, the criterion seeks to ensure that they are relevant to planning and of sufficient quality to add to the student's skills and understanding of planning-related issues. To demonstrate compliance with this criterion, the narrative should describe the areas of specialization and demonstrate that the knowledge, skills, and values gained are of sufficient depth and breadth beyond the program's required curriculum. PAB considers required concentrations to be specializations and will review them for compliance under this criterion. To demonstrate compliance regarding electives, the program should address the frequency of elective offerings, the planning content within elective courses, and whether instructors for these courses are familiar with planning. The following 4 examples describe situations that could be viewed as challenges to meeting this criterion. 1. There is generally only one faculty member per area of specialization, resulting in insufficient depth of expertise and advising. 2. Specialization courses are frequently canceled due to lack of enrollment. 3. Each specialization consists of a list of courses to fulfill the requirement, but it is unclear what additional specific knowledge, specific skills, and specific values are learned. 4. Elective courses lack sufficient content relevant to the planning field. Instructional delivery and scheduling is the third criterion within the curriculum standard. Please pause the presentation to read this text. This criterion aims to ensure that faculty are fully qualified for the instruction role to which they are assigned, and scheduling should be such that students are able to graduate on their expected schedule. Course staffing and scheduling will vary with the program's mission. In self-study reports, programs will provide information to demonstrate the regularity of course offerings and describe the qualifications and teaching assignments of faculty members and other instructors. The following 3 examples describe situations that could be viewed as challenges to meeting this criterion. 1. Many required courses are taught by non-tenure track instructors. 2. Graduate students report difficulties finishing program requirements in 2 years due to course scheduling conflicts. 3. The offering of multiple courses within a specialization in one semester and the lack of such courses in other semesters. Facilities is the 4th criterion within the curriculum standard. Please pause the presentation to read this text. This criterion is in place to ensure that students, faculty, and staff have access to sufficient physical resources and facilities to achieve curricular objectives. The focus of this criterion is on the classrooms, studio workspace, and offices that are available to program faculty, staff, and students. The self-study narrative should summarize the teaching facilities and briefly assess their adequacy to the program's needs. The following 3 examples describe situations that could be viewed as challenges to meeting this criterion. 1. Lack of access to and/or control over classroom space, including and especially a room suitable for workshop or studio courses. 2. Lack of meeting room, workspace, lounge for students that is negatively impacting student learning. And 3. Inadequate office space for faculty. Information and technology is the 5th criterion within the curriculum standard. Please pause the presentation to read this text. This criterion addresses whether the students, faculty, and staff of the program have access to sufficient information systems and technology, technical equipment and support, and training to achieve the program's mission and objectives. Information and technology include, but are not limited to, maintained computer hardware, software and access, library resources, and collections. The narrative in the self-study report should summarize information and technology resources that are available to program students, faculty, and staff, and it should provide a brief assessment of their adequacy relative to program needs. The following 3 examples describe situations that could be viewed as challenges to meeting this criterion. 1. Computer labs are not open on a consistent basis. 2. Computer hardware in the labs is not sufficient to run data and graphic-intensive software such as ArcGIS, and an incomplete set of software programs is available for students. And 3. Lack of access to photocopiers and office technology systems. This concludes the module for PAB Standard 4 Curriculum. On behalf of the PAB Board and staff, we want to thank you for completing this module. We invite you now to return to the PAB website to complete training for this module by taking a short quiz about the information presented in this presentation. You will receive your score on the quiz, and PAB staff will record the results. Thank you.